Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? And welcome to Gray Matters, the podcast for baby boomers and Gen Xers. Now, co-host Vivica Von Rosen is going to have an interview today, which takes on a really delicate topic. It's a new problem. Maybe it's not new, but it's certainly emerging as one of the big challenges most of us face in our day-to-day lives. And that's this question of conflicting values, acceptance with people who are important to us. We know with what's going on in the world politically right now that great divisions are happening within communities and within families. And they've been there for forever. We've always had to deal with conflict within our families. But doesn't it seem to be more relevant today and kind of have accelerated on so many different fronts? At least I certainly feel that way. And with people who I care about, and with people who I want to care about, and with people who I have to care about, we find we find increased conflict, increased challenge for acceptance in all of those spaces. Well, today Vivica and her guest Meagan take on that exact topic, and maybe we can glean some lessons from it, and it's something that we can then impart into the challenges we face day to day. Let's have a listen.
I feel like I've kind of seen Meagan grow up. When I first met her, it was probably over 20 years ago, and she had just moved to Colorado. And I mean, the woman she was then compared to the woman she is now is just, it's amazing to see the shift and the growth. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, but let me give her official bio. Meagan is an award-winning author, keynote speaker, and human connection specialist. So we're going to dive into that. With over 15 years of experience in leadership, development, and storytelling, she collaborates with diverse organizations to cultivate cultures of inclusion, empathy, and resilience. Her work has been featured in prominent platforms like Forbes, Fox 13 Seattle, let me clarify, New York Weekly, Authority Magazine, Brains Magazine, and more. And her TEDx talk, What to Do When You Disagree with Someone You Love, is really going to kind of be the basis of our conversation today, which she launched back on March 3rd. And also, you've got like a new song on Spotify, which we'll put the link for that into the show notes. What? I mean, I was like, wait, what? What? So tell me a little bit about this song, and then let's talk about communication. Yeah.
Okay. So the TED Talk event that I did was in Seattle, and it's TED Belltown Women, and it was a women's event, and it was this incredible event. One of the best events I've ever been to. Definitely the best one I've ever spoken at. The room was full of like empowered women and executives, and it was just incredible. But at that event, there was also musicians, and I met this musician. Her name is Kelly Rose, and I just adored her. We had so many great conversations, and I loved like her artistry and how she performed, and I just really connected with her. And as I was thinking about the promotional efforts it was going to take with the TED Talk, I wanted to do something unique. It's always been a dream of mine to write a song. And I thought, well, I'll ask Kelly Rose if she wants to, do a song with me. So I wrote the lyrics, and the lyrics were meant to just kind of coexist with the talk as the same message. Yeah. And she did all of the music and all of the production. So it was kind of a team approach for sure, but it turned into this beautiful song that I'm just, every time I hear it, I'm like, I did not write that. No way. So it was just a fun little side project. I've always wanted to do it. I've written poetry over the years, and just it was the right collaboration. So
that's amazing. That's absolutely, I love that you're doing this and exploring other areas of artistry as well. Meagan has written 2 books, or is it 3 books?
3 books.
3 books now. And you were just working on your first book when you lived in Colorado. So
Hmm.
a lot of growth that way too. Meagan is also married to my dear friend Claire and has the most amazing and precocious daughter you can imagine. And if you don't want me to say Merritt's name, we'll just edit it out. But she is like teaching you things every minute of every day. So there's just so much, right? Awesomeness. There's so much awesomeness. So tell us a little bit about your story and yeah, just tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to the communications work that you're doing. And I'm kind of, as I was reading through again and the fact that you were in Belltown in Seattle, and Steve, my co-host, is Canadian. And, there's a lot going on between Canada and the US right now.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of obviously anxiety and lack of communication in the world. And my husband is a Republican and I'm a Democrat. So I'm like selfishly wanting to hear your words of advice around better communication opportunities.
Well, yes, yes. So much going on in the world, right? I mean, you can't even process the amount
I
of
can't even
change that's
process it.
happening. Perhaps that's intentional, but either way, it's still true. And
Right.
I, so my story, I was raised in Mississippi. I was raised by a Catholic family and realized in my college years that I was gay. I was outed by an ex-boyfriend and was essentially excommunicated by my community, my friends,
Yeah.
coaches, mentors, and really struggled with my family, eventually leading me to leave Mississippi because, as my brother said, he said it best.
Yeah.
You should probably leave Mississippi, you'll be safer somewhere else. And at the time, it was about 2004. It was certainly very true. There was a lot to be
Yeah.
afraid of. And I left. I went to Florida. I got another master's degree at Florida State. And then
Mhm.
eventually my time at Florida ended and I came to Colorado, which is where I met you.
Yeah.
And then at that time, I was writing my first book, like you said, and I was also ending a really, emotionally abusive relationship, which you saw me through as a friend and were there for
Yeah.
me. And I'll never forget that. And, eventually met Claire and eventually got to a point where I realized that if I was going to heal, I
Mhm.
couldn't just keep running away from home. And so I decided to
Yeah.
come back. Claire bravely came with me, and
Mhm.
we've been here since 2010. And I would say most of that journey has been about bridging that divide with myself and my family, finding a way to communicate because we are all very, very different
Yep.
spiritually, politically. I wouldn't say necessarily emotionally, but we're different in so many ways that communication has to be there or, you know, we don't do well. And then also just this path of finding myself and my career here in Mississippi and how that's unfolded and how I have found my voice in using storytelling to bridge the gaps of this community and
Yeah.
the political climate here and things that LGBTQ people go through and just being that subtle voice that's kind of in the corner, just sharing my experiences and not pointing the finger, like really trying to make people see that there's another way, that we don't have to be angry with each other. We don't have to yell at each other. We can have real conversations that lead to respecting each other and being able to stand where we are, but not necessarily, you know, feeling like we have to change the other person.
Right, right. So
Anyway,
so
it's been a
so
journey.
how? Please tell me how, because it's, it comes up in my we are a family of we have agreed to disagree and we know what subjects not to broach, but that I don't feel that might keep us from getting, divorced, or it might keep me from getting kicked out of the family. It's not moving things along. So how do Canadians and Americans talk? How do liberals and conservatives talk? How do husbands and wives who are on either side of the political divide actually talk?
Well, I think for me, what's worked is just realizing that we all really want the same things in the end. We all want security, we all want safety,
Mhm.
we all want a sense of inner peace and joy, and we all want to be close to our family members and have that love and
Yeah.
respect for each other. I think where it gets hard is that we feel this need to have to change the other person to get there, to get them on our team.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can
Right.
relieve that idea that we need the person we love on our team, then it makes it a little bit easier to just accept them for who they are and where they are, and also accept ourselves for who we are and
Yeah.
where we are. And so a lot of those underlying things get in the way. And so I've just seen it in my own family, even in this past election, like
Yeah.
politically
Yeah.
different with my immediate family, and we've come leaps and bounds over the years, and still it was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But when I've entered conversations that, are the ones where you want to agree to disagree, my first question
Mm-hmm.
is always, or my first statement really, in my TED Talk, I say this too, is this is a really important topic for me, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of you
Wow.
not seeing me. I'm afraid of you not understanding where I'm coming from. I'm afraid of you not accepting me if I tell you how I feel about this. And if you approach a conversation initially, just being very clear about that, it kind of sets a space where it's like, okay, wait a minute, we're both humans here. We don't need to win each other over. We just need to listen and be curious about where the other person stands. And if you can do that, it's just it cuts the tension. And I know it's a vulnerable thing
I
to
would
do,
say
right?
that is super vulnerable, and you have to trust the person, like to some extent, right?
Well, it has to be a relationship that you really want.
Mhm.
Are
Mhm.
you
Mm.
is this a relationship you really want to have? Do you want to take it to that next level?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, to me it's worth the risk.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if
Well,
the
and
answer
if it
is
is that kind of relationship, hopefully there is a modicum of trust there so that you
yeah,
can be vulnerable
right.
and the other person is willing to as well.
Right. And I
Yeah.
say too, and not everybody is going to meet you there, but
Right.
most of the time I think people are willing to meet you there because we don't have those points of connection very often. Not a whole lot really with people who have differing
Yeah.
views. So it's a unique opportunity to dive a little deeper and try something different. I mean, why not? I mean, we've got to do something, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I'm thinking about our audience on Gray Matters, which, Gray Matters. So we're mostly Gen X and boomers, which older than your generation,
Not
but
much.
and kind of set in our ways, some of us. And I love and maybe not coming from a place of comfort in sharing. I think more my generation, Gen Xers, we started sharing more about who we were and how we feel. But I think with boomers, that's not super comfortable. But are your parents Gen X or boomers?
So they're in their 70s, so
Okay, so they're boomers.
yeah.
So how was that being vulnerable with them? And how was it for them to be vulnerable and share their truth with you?
I think it was a little bit easier for me than them. I mean,
Yeah.
they really, obviously generationally and where they come from and how they were raised. And
Yeah.
I mean, nothing like what I grew up. I mean, we didn't really talk about much growing up, but I can
Right.
imagine
Right.
that when they were growing up, they didn't talk about anything. So,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
so I have kind of pushed them out of their comfort box a lot
Yes,
because
a
of who I
lot.
am. Like, I need
Yeah.
clarity. I want to know. I want to work through
Yeah.
things. I know there's a way if we can just be honest and real. And so that part of who I am is so integral to any relationship that I
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
that it's pushed them because they want to be in a relationship with me. And so I give them total credit that they've been willing to do that. And it hasn't been easy for any of us, but
No.
they're always willing. And I know that. And there's that trust there that we'll be able to get through any hard conversation, no matter what it is, because we've worked on it so much over the years.
And I've seen, I mean, and I've seen the relationship with you and your parents really grow And there's been tough times, definitely, and it is because honestly, I don't think there could be much more polar oppositeness than what you have with your family. And you've bridged that gap so beautifully. And there's clearly so much love there with your mom and your dad and the rest of the family. Actually, I've only seen your mom and dad, so I'll just speak to that. But there's truly love and respect. And I think that's the thing that's maybe even harder to bridge. Like we love our family. I love my in-laws. And sometimes when Fox News is on, I don't feel a whole lot of respect. So I have to find a place where I can have respect for them, even though we have much different ideologies.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. I know that,
Yeah.
and not letting those tensions build, I think is really key.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I know for me, anyway, when I've been really good at just saying, hey, this makes me feel really uncomfortable, or what you said really hurts, because there will be like a turn of
Mhm.
phrase that's really discriminatory, or
Yeah.
something that's said that's, like, hello, I'm right here,
Yeah.
but if I don't voice that, if I don't say,
Yeah.
hey, it really hurts me when you do that, because they're not even realizing it's just,
No,
a, you know,
it's yeah.
then those tensions build over time, and
Yeah.
it can become harder to bridge the gap on those more important conversations, because all of those tensions are underneath and they're building slowly but surely.
So what does that, I mean, you can use a hypothetical if you want or a real conversation. Take us through the actual conversation and you can make stuff up if you want. But, to be vulnerable and to say this is what I'm afraid of, this is what scares me. Like what does the actual conversation end up looking like so people who are on this podcast can kind of have an idea of the way it can go? And if again, hypothetical is fine, but share an example of one that went well and one that didn't go well and you were like, I tried, I did my best and
Sure.
goodbye, because that happens too.
Yeah, it totally happens. A time when it worked well. I'll do something
Mm.
recent, since we all find ourselves in this political climate.
Yeah.
Well, my mom and I voted differently, and obviously
Mhm.
we're very, very close. And so I really
Mhm.
struggled, especially as the executive orders were coming. And I was in a pretty dark space, but I didn't want to be in a dark space with her. I didn't want to go backwards in our relationship. And
Yeah.
so we were having continuous conversations, but there was one point where I said, hey, because I wasn't sure if she voted differently than me. I just kind of
Mhm. Mhm.
figured. And I just asked her directly, how
Mhm.
did you vote? And she told me.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I voted this way. And I just set the stage. I was like, can we just have an open conversation? Because I'm already like nervous to talk about
Yep.
this. And she said, me too. She was already nervous to talk
Mm.
about this. So we both kind
Yeah.
of like entered that conversation where it was like, we're both nervous to have this conversation because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, why? Why did you vote that way? I really want to know.
Yeah.
And she told me her reasons. And I said,
Mhm.
that's legitimate. I totally
Yeah.
understand and respect that. And I said, well, and this is why I voted this way.
Mhm.
She was like, I understand that. I totally get that. And so it made sense, and we were able to like get to the why,
The why. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what our fears were underneath the why. And I was like, this is why I voted this way, and this is what I'm afraid of happening to my family. And she said, well, I
Yes.
voted this way, and this is what I'm afraid happening to me and your dad. And I'm like,
Yeah.
makes total sense.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
there, it was easy to have the conversations about all of the other things that are happening. And
Yeah.
we've ended up being on the same page about a lot of things. Not everything,
It's
not every,
surprising when you have the conversation that you're
not
like,
everything, but that's
not
okay.
everything, but
But that's okay, because I
yeah.
understand her why, and
Mhm.
it's her why. It's not my why, and that's
No.
fine. I don't need her to vote for my why. It's her life.
Right. Right.
So, and then a time when So when I was outed, I had a really bad experience with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and they were the ones who really came down hard on me. And when I came back to Mississippi, I was asked to speak at the very first National Coming Out Day at Mississippi State University.
Oh, wow.
Kind
Yeah.
of called FCA out for how I was treated, made it to the front page of the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
A few days later, I got a call from the director from FCA, and he dishes out this huge apology. And I was like, okay, this is great. An apology.
Yeah.
How,
Yeah.
let's get together and talk. So we get together and we
Yeah.
talk. Same thing, same kind of concept where I'm like, okay, this is who I am. This is why I am the
Yeah.
way I am. These are my fears. And he does the same thing. So we set this
Yeah.
really great tone. I'm like, well, we can have a friendship. This will be great.
Yeah.
We meet again for coffee. We're just having a talk. I'm like, hey, I'd love to make you a part of this project. It's called Beyond Labels. I'm interviewing all kinds of different people, all this spectrum of people around town, sharing everyone's stories. And he stands up and he looks at me and he says, I don't want to be a part of your agenda, and walks out.
Oh. Oh.
So,
And you feel like you've got so much movement forward, and then, but you know what? He said the word agenda. And so he wasn't truly being vulnerable to your truth,
right.
because what I know about you is you don't have an agenda, right? You
No.
have
No.
a wanting to get to the truth, and which means that he was just projecting and had his own agenda, and he just didn't want to let go of that.
Yeah.
And
So
there
it
will be
happens.
people who don't want to let go, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it does happen. And
Yeah.
but if you truly have that vulnerability there, like you said, and both people are invested in that, then the chances are pretty high it's going to go well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say
Well, I
9
would
times out of
challenge.
10 it goes well.
Say that again, honey?
9 times out of 10 it goes well.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I would challenge, because I think everyone listening to this podcast right now has one or two people in their mind's eye who they're thinking of. And I would challenge, like, set the stage and have the conversation and see what happens. And again, you don't have to share the story, but let us know in comments below, did this help? Because I am going to do exactly that in about 45 minutes from now and see where it takes me. And I'll let everyone know in comments too how that goes. But I'm so grateful for our friendship. I am so grateful that you are on the call today, on the podcast today. Let people know where to find you if they have more questions for you.
Yeah, my website, meaganonan.com. Or you go find my TED Talk, what to do when you disagree with someone you love. You can find it on the TEDx YouTube channel, and
It'll be in show notes too, everybody. So you just scroll down.
Those are two great places to find me and my work.
And your latest book?
My most recently published book is called Held Free. It's a memoir. I am working on another book around the topic of cancel culture and how to navigate that. But anyway, that's in development. So yeah.
Yeah, you had a really good newsletter on that, and we'll do that at another time. But yeah, when your new book comes out, let me know, and we'll make sure to have you back on the show.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Meagan. Great to see you.
Yes, thank you.